Sard is the northernmost continuously inhabited place on the planet, yet, despite its Arctic temperatures and rugged terrain, over 2,500 people make their home here. And if you want, you can make your home here too, thanks to a unique treaty. But if Sard is so cold and inhospitable, why does anyone live there in the first place? Let's start by looking at the island's geography. Sard, an archipelago situated in the Arctic Ocean, is one of the most remote places on Earth, lying halfway between mainland Norway and the literal North Pole. It spans a total area of about 61,000 square kilometers, with towering mountains, expansive glaciers and deep fjords that cut into the coastline. There are few other places on the planet as intense as Sard. Overall, the archipelago consists of 9 main islands, with Spitsbergen being the largest and most significant. This island is home to the majority of its population and infrastructure because everywhere else is basically unlivable. Glaciers cover approximately 60% of Sard, with icy flows carving valleys and leaving behind striking moraines, the rocky remnants of glaciers as they slowly retreat. Among these glaciers, Ostforna or Nordaustlandet is one of the largest ice caps in Europe. Basically, the ice prevents much of anything being done on the islands. Of course, like with its territorial control of Norway, Sard is most notable for its fjords, which serve as gateways to the interior and provide a contrast to the dramatic peaks that rise sharply from the sea. Isfjorden, one of the largest fjords, isn't just amazingly beautiful but also a hub of human activity, hosting settlements like Longyearbyen. Besides fjords, Sard has mountains, many mountains. The highest peak, Newtontoppen, rises 1,717 meters, and its snow-covered slopes and jagged ridges dominate the skyline. Their geologic composition tells the story of shifting tectonic plates, volcanic activity, and periods of glaciation that have left their mark on the terrain. Thankfully, though, and unlike Iceland, Sard's volcanic activity is basically non-existent these days, as the island has drifted about 60 miles east from the separation of the Eurasian and North American plates. Now, despite its Arctic location, Sard's climate is relatively mild due to the influence of the Gulf Stream. Be sure to check out this video on the potential collapse of the Gulf Stream if you haven't done so yet. But this means that summers are cold, but not nearly as cold as you might expect, with average temperatures hovering just above freezing. In fact, Sard, like many other places on the planet, is getting warmer. On July 25, 2020, a new record temperature of 21.7 degrees Celsius was recorded. That's similar to temperatures commonly seen in San Diego, California. That said, winters are very cold, very long, and very dark, so it's still quite extreme. So, with all of these glaciers, mountains, fjords, and other extremes, what drew people to Sard in the first place? Unsurprisingly, the history of Sard is as dramatic as its landscape. While its physical geography paints a picture of incredible wilderness, the human history of Sard reveals how people have been continuously drawn to this remote frontier despite its harsh conditions. But first, let's go back to when Sard was first discovered by humans. The earliest recorded sighting of Sard dates back to 1596, when Dutch explorer Willem Barents stumbled upon the islands during a quest for the northeast sea route that would connect Europe to East Asia. Upon discovery, he named the area Spitsbergen, meaning pointed mountains, which appropriately described the jagged peaks he encountered. That said, though Barents's expedition marked the archipelago's official entrance into recorded history, there is evidence that seafaring Pomor hunters from Russia may have visited Sard centuries earlier. In the centuries following Barents's discovery, Sard became a hub for Arctic exploration and exploitation. The 1600s and 1700s saw whalers from across Europe converge on its icy waters. These early industrialists were lured by the abundant whale populations, particularly bowhead whales, whose blubber was rendered into oil. Because of the burgeoning whaling industry, temporary settlements sprung up along the coast, and this particular industry thrived on Sard until overharvesting decimated whale populations, forcing its whaling inhabitants to abandon the region altogether. Sard would remain mostly uninhabited until another resource was discovered: coal. By the late 1800s, coal became the focus of an Arctic coal rush. Rich coal deposits attracted mining companies from Norway, Russia, and beyond. leading to the establishment of settlements like Longyearbyen and Barentsburg. This period transformed Sard from a seasonal outpost to a hub of permanent yet precarious settlement shaped by the harsh Arctic environment. Of course, given its physical location, Sard also played a significant role in the age of Arctic exploration. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, expeditions launched from its shores to attempt to reach the North Pole. Explorers like Roald Amundsen and Umberto Nobile used the islands as staging grounds, capitalizing on their northern location. While exploration of the Arctic was never a primary population driver to Sard, it did heighten its global reputation and prominence as countries contested for more land all over the planet. All this came to a head when the fate of Sard would be determined in the early 1900s. After centuries of disputed territorial claims, the Svalbard Treaty of 1920 was signed, granting sovereignty to Norway but allowing citizens of other signatory nations equal rights to exploit its natural resources. This agreement remains a cornerstone of Sard's unique political status and continues to influence its governance and international relations. Over hundreds of years, Sard has evolved from a dreary, icy island with no people on it to a dreary, icy island with several thousand people on it. So, who actually chooses to live there and why? Sard is one of the most challenging places for year-round habitation, yet over 2,500 people call it home, drawn by both opportunity and the Arctic's unique allure. Residents from around the world form a diverse and intriguing community unbound by any single nation. The largest settlement on Sard is Longyearbyen, the northernmost settlement in the entire world. Originally established as a coal mining outpost in the early 1900s, Longyearbyen has since transformed into a surprising hub for scientific research, tourism, and education. And to go with this economy, its population is remarkably international. Though Norwegian citizens do make up the majority, there are sizable communities from Thailand, Russia, Ukraine, and other countries. Of course, the one that stands out the most is the island's Thai community, which is second only to Norwegians as the largest ethnic group on the island. While there doesn't seem like there would be an obvious connection between tropical Thailand and Arctic Sard, apparently many Thais first came to the island during the 1970s because it was one of the few places where Thai people could move to without a visa. And this leads to an interesting situation that Sard has. Almost anyone can live and work there if they so choose, regardless of their nationality, though there are exceptions. This policy is a consequence of the Svalbard Treaty of 1920, which established the archipelago as a demilitarized and open territory under Norwegian sovereignty. The treaty allows citizens of its signatory countries equal rights to live, work, and exploit resources in Sard. Over time, this openness has made the islands a refuge not just for researchers and miners, but also for adventurers, entrepreneurs, and those seeking a fresh start in a place unlike any other. That said, though, for countries that are not signatories of the Svalbard Treaty, such as Brazil, Mexico, or most of Africa, citizens cannot move and live in Sard. But this does mean that you likely can live there if you so choose. But should you? Life in Sard is both rewarding and challenging. The Arctic environment defines daily existence, from the endless light of the midnight sun in summer to the perpetual darkness of the polar night in winter. Temperatures regularly plunge well below freezing, and the threat of avalanches and polar bear encounters adds an extra layer of complexity to living here. Despite this, residents have built a community that is surprisingly modern and vibrant. Longyearbyen boasts schools, a university centre, shops, restaurants, and even a cultural scene with festivals, art exhibitions, and concerts bringing warmth to the long winters. And if you want to be even further from life in the big city of Longyearbyen, you can. Smaller settlements such as Barentsburg and Ny-Ålesund exist as remote places where you could potentially live if you so desire. Barentsburg is a Russian mining town with a distinct Soviet-era aesthetic, offering a glimpse into the region's cultural influences. Ny-Ålesund, meanwhile, is the world's northernmost permanent research settlement, attracting scientists from all over the globe who study everything from glaciology to atmospheric conditions. For many people on Sard, work is the main reason for being there. Coal mining, while significantly reduced from its heyday, still provides employment, particularly in Barentsburg. Today, however, the economic focus of Sard has shifted towards research and tourism. The University Centre in Sard offers unique educational opportunities, attracting students and scientists eager to study the Arctic firsthand. Tourism has also flourished as travellers seek the thrill of exploring this remote and pristine environment. It's worth pointing out that Sard has one very unique law for all residents, but perhaps most shocking to tourists. If you leave the town of Longyearbyen, you're required to bring a means of scaring off polar bears. This doesn't necessarily require having a gun, but given that polar bears are very dangerous and not scared of much else, it essentially means that if you leave any of the island's major settlements, you need to do so armed. Sard's population is highly transient, with most residents staying only a few years, often drawn by work or the allure of Arctic life before returning home. The open immigration policy is a source of pride but poses challenges. With no welfare system and only basic health care, residents must be truly self-sufficient, and those unable to support themselves must leave. This reality highlights the resilience needed to live in such a harsh environment. Finally, Sard is also grappling with the effects of climate change, which is occurring here at a rate more than twice the global average. Thawing permafrost, retreating glaciers, and rising temperatures threaten the very landscapes and ecosystems that define the region. For its residents, these changes are not just scientific observations, but lived realities, reshaping how they interact with their environment. Which leads to the final question of this video: should you move to Sard? Realistically, no. While you're legally allowed to if you're a citizen of one of the many signatory countries, the reality is that few can actually survive long-term on the island. Living there is very expensive, jobs are relatively scarce, and basic infrastructure you take for granted every day is not really there. There's a reason why the island is still so sparsely inhabited, even after hundreds of years of settlement. It's very hard to make a living there. Today, Sard is home to a little more than 2,500 people, which is pretty impressive given how far north it is. And of those 2,500, about 1,800 live in Longyearbyen, and the rest either in Barentsburg with about 455 people and Ny-Ålesund with a little over 100. Aside from that, there's not many other people around. There did used to be an old Soviet mining town called Pyramiden, but it was officially abandoned in 1998. Visiting it, however, is like stepping through a time capsule into the Soviet Union. Sard is cold, rugged, and inhospitable, but if you want, you can move there tomorrow, and that is a very unique situation in a world that is largely closed off from immigration. Hey, did you enjoy learning all about the weird geography of Sard? Well then, maybe you would like one of these amazing maps of other weird places on your wall. Every map you buy helps support this channel. I hope you enjoyed learning all about Sard. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to watch that video on the Gulf Stream, you can do so right here. Thanks for watching. See you next week.